Today, armed conflict affects more than 50 countries. 1 of every 4 people faces the daily threat of criminal and political violence.
The manner in which conflict affects people is enormous.
More often than not, women and children are disproportionately affected.
They live in a permanent state of fear, not knowing what their future will bring to them.
That's not a stain that goes away. It doesn't end with the end of the conflict. These families live with the pain for years, and the societies suffer for decades.
We now live in a multipolar world.
The modern institutions of diplomacy have adapted very poorly to the nature of modern conflict.
And so everyone's having to become much more savvy about engaging with many more players.
Independent Diplomat is a group of former diplomats who are rewriting the rules of traditional diplomacy.
All too often, people whose interests are most at stake in an international discussion of an issue are the last people to be consulted. The mission of Independent Diplomat is to help marginalized groups and countries be part of that discussion and to get their needs across effectively. In a sense, we're gamekeepers turned poachers because we are giving the knowledge of how diplomacy really works to people who are excluded from that magic inner circle, about how to get into it, how to break it.
Independent Diplomat's clients have included South Sudan, Kosovo, Moldova, Croatia, Somaliland, and the Marshall Islands.
I'm getting comfortable in that, I can now speak about climate change and they know that I'm from the Marshall Islands. And that's through the help of the independent diplomats.
Independent Diplomat also helped South Sudan get its voice heard at a critical juncture in its history.
As crazy as it sounds, the United Nations was going to be convening a meeting about the possible independence of South Sudan without inviting a Southern Sudanese representative.
This is a country that was just beginning, that did not have even what you would call established diplomacy. And there was quite a vacuum. I think that vacuum was very well filled by independent diplomats.
Independent Diplomat convinced the Security Council to break with precedent and invite South Sudanese leader Pagan Amum to speak.
For the full implementation of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement.
And here he was, for the first time ever, expressing the needs of his country, South Sudan, in a formal diplomatic meeting. That is the measure of our success. It's not actually ending wars or solving climate change. It is helping our clients be more effective. That's, it's a humble thing, but it's something we can realistically and materially do.
But formal diplomacy is only one way to address conflicts. Crisis action protects civilians in places like the Middle East and Central Africa by coordinating the work of other organizations.
Organizations are stronger if they work together.
The humanitarian groups, the human rights groups, the refugee groups, the conflict groups.
Grassroots organizations, faith leaders, celebrities.
We tend to all do our own thing and do it well, but with a little nudge from crisis action and a lot of support, we can be stronger than our individual voices.
The problem crisis action was created to solve is very simple. How to get this set of organizations to agree to the same message and to the same campaign.
We say to people, are you in or are you out? It's up to you. And what that means is those who opt in are able to really, really devote themselves to a strong position with ambitious targets.
A case in point, the 2011 turmoil in Syria.
We brought together huge coalitions across the Middle East of hundreds of NGOs and civil society organisations. And what we saw was landmark resolutions by the Arab League in which for the first time they cited the need to protect civilians as a reason to act.
Crisis action deliberately works behind the scenes to multiply the work of others.
This is actually one of the only videos you'll ever see about crisis action because it's really important that we don't get credit, actually, publicly for the work that happens.
There are tens, maybe hundreds of conflicts in the world, depends how you count them. You can't tackle everything, you have to focus. And they're very good at it. And it's impressive what a really small team can achieve by having the right collaborative